Today's video is going to be really hard to come up with a title for because there's not really any one specific thing that I'm going to be focusing on today. There's just a bunch of little jobs that I've got to go do, and I know I've got a lot of videos like that, but that's just kind of what real life looks like. This morning I need to make a repair to this gate here that I've been putting off for, I'm estimating, about 10 years. And then we need to run up to the steer pasture. I know I've got some sprinklers to fix up there, and it's time for a pasture move that I've been wanting to show you guys because I'm so proud of those boys, how good they are at moving pastures now. Of course, now that I've built them up, they'll probably do terribly, but we'll just have to go up there and see. That's what's going on today on Farmertylerranch. All right, so first I want to talk about this gate repair. Now this short section of pipe fence here, I believe I built at the same time or the same year that I built this fence line. So if I remember right, my side-by-side was brand new when I built this. This was one of the first jobs that I used it for, and the model year on the side-by-side is 2014. So I'm gonna say this fence and the pipe fence here were built in 2014. So back in 2014, when this was new, I remember I welded this flat bar here for a gate latch. And this was actually, I think, one of the first places where I used this style of latch. And I thought, oh man, this is a great idea. It's gonna work good. So I welded it all up and I said, okay, I'll come back later and I'll punch some holes in the flat bar so that the gate latch has something to lock into. Well, that was back in 2014, and today we're gonna get to it. So for the last 8 years here, I've just been using a chain to latch this gate, which does work, but the chain I've got here is kind of thin and flimsy, and this is gonna maybe sound a little bit weird, but I've either got a cow that has figured out how to unlatch that chain, or I've got somebody that comes out here and messes with me once in a while, because 2 or maybe 3 times I've had this gate open when I did not open it, and that chain was on the ground unbroken. So I don't know if a cow will get to chewing on it and somehow get, I don't know. It's weird. But I don't think that will happen when this is latched. I'm trying to get away from using these chains just because I've had them break on me multiple times. And I mean, these gates have nice latches on them, so why not use it, right? So I guess the good thing about waiting 8 years to do this is now I can be pretty confident that this gate won't sag anymore. It should have sagged as much as it's gonna, and wherever I put these holes should be perfect. All right, I got my squares here where I'm gonna cut out in about the spot that I think I want them. And we're working with 3/8 thick metal here. So while my plasma cutter probably can plunge through that, it's going to be a lot easier if I just drill a little hole here, and then that'll give it a good place to start. All right, the latch looks pretty good. It works. There's one more thing though on this gate that we need to fix, and that is the latch lock. Somehow over the years this weld broke, and the little hoop thing got all bent up, and this isn't working properly. So we're gonna go ahead and fix that, because I don't trust just the latch like that. It's got to have some sort of a lock on it. In fact, I can show you what it's supposed to look like on this other gate. Okay, we're gonna have to get creative now. The problem that I have now is this is all bent. I need to try to bend it back down and into the gate so that we can weld it back on. And I guess the best way to do this is just use a hammer. Maybe not. All right, so I've got a little target that's tough to hit here. So I think I'm gonna try. I think it's working. It's gonna be hard to reach with the welder, and I know this metal is very thin, but we're gonna get it. Well, it's not the prettiest, but I think it'll hold. So the gate on the other side here, it's basically the same thing, but there is another layer to this one. When I set this post years ago, I don't know if I didn't measure right or what happened, but the post is a little bit closer to this gate than it is to that one, and as a result, those latch pins don't reach the latch. So I've got some little extensions that I'm gonna weld onto the latch pins, and that should fix it right up. All right, that looks pretty good. The latches are probably a little bit longer than they need to be, honestly. I might come back and trim an inch off in another 8 years, but as for the way it is now, it's gonna work like this. We just gotta cut some holes. All right, I think I'm done here. This looks good. It's gonna work just the way I wanted it to. And I think after I use these gates for a little while, I'm gonna wonder why I didn't do this 8 years ago. And I know I'm kind of sitting here thinking, like, is my little butt weld here gonna be enough if somebody hits this gate? But I think if they hit it hard enough to break that weld, that they were gonna break something no matter what. If it wasn't the weld, then they just would have bowed the gate. So if somebody hits the gate that hard, we've got other problems. And now that I've got the latches all fixed up on these gates, I'm looking at this bottom rail that's rotted out, and I know there's no way really for me to find a replacement piece of metal quite like this, but I think that I could kind of cut this piece out and replace it with pipe. I don't know that I'll ever do that. I mean, the gates are perfectly functional how they are now, but you know, when I look at them and I see that rotted out, it just kind of makes me want to fix it. I would love to know how old these gates are. These gates have been here ever since I was a little kid. They weren't hanging on this fence. There was a different corral fence here, but it was the same gates. And I'm pretty sure that Grandpa probably got them used because he didn't buy too many things new. If I look at the badge plate on the gate, they're Powder River gates, and it just says Baker, Oregon, Provo, Utah, St. Joseph, Missouri, Lincoln, California, that's us, Athens, Texas, Amarillo, Texas, Kansas City, Texas, huh, who knew, Mesa, Arizona, Cherokee, Iowa, and Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. I'm guessing that's where they had dealers at the time, but no dates, so I don't know. I guess it's a mystery. gotta clean my mess up and we'll move on to the next thing. We just pulled in here at the summer steer pasture and I need to move them today, but before I put them in this new field, I have to mess around with the water troughs a little bit, and I'll bring you with me and show you what I'm talking about. The way that the water's set up in these pastures, we've got a tank on this side of the fence and then a tank on the other side of the fence. And at one time, each tank had its own hose that fed it, but when I brought the steers here, that was one of the first things that I noticed when I went to set the water up here, was that one of these hoses was, you know, split, had a hole in it, and every time I come here and change them, I think I need to bring a new hose, and then I always forget. What that has resulted in is every time I move them over here, I need to change the float from one side to the other. But that's not the worst thing in the world, because it gives me a good reason to drain these troughs and keep their water clean. Okay, let's go get the float set up on the other side. I don't really mind doing this, it's not that big of a deal. What I don't like, however, is the fact that there's berry vines growing up all around these water troughs. So every time I reach in there to mess with those floats, I usually find a few thorns. All right, water set, gates are set. I think we're all good on this side. Let's go open the gate at the other end. Okay. Good girl. I've been trying to train these guys to come when I call them, so let's give it a try. Come, boss! They're thinking about coming. Here we go. Come, boss! You can see night and day difference from the first time I tried to move them. Well, I think that's about all there is to do over here. Boys got water, they got a new field. I think life is good in Steerland, so let's head on back to the ranch. I got one more thing that I want to show you guys today. We're back here at the home ranch now, and the last thing that I kind of wanted to check on and I wanted to show you guys today was our latest little surprise that we had out here in the cow herd. Number 4 is one of my older mother cows, and she this year happened to be the last one that hadn't had a calf yet. And I looked at the records from last year. It looked like she calved in June, and this year she's a month later again in July. So she did have her calf, so I can't fault her there, but she's awfully late. The last calf of the year is now crossed off of the list. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys, and I hope I'll see you again on Farmer Tyler Ranch.